Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 on Blu-ray, episode The Big Goodbye. This is day 14 of 30 of my 30 Days of Star Trek reviews. So here we go. This is a wonky holodeck episode. Yay! Alright, so this is actually getting comically consistent at this point. So you have the main people that you see walking around with pants on, and then the short skirt ladies have just turned into set dressings at this point. And it's like every episode, the opening 5 seconds has like these skirt ladies just power walking around. Like, look at this.
Necessary contact with the Harada, a reclusive insect-like race known for its idiosyncratic attitude toward protocol. The Harada demand a precise greeting, in this case, from Captain Picard.
Sorry, I let that play a little bit longer because Riker says Captain Picard, and it's like, other times he's like Picard. And so it just seems like sometimes when he's talking about him, he's like Picard. I feel like it's like how Star Trek, they'll say, let's do a sensor scan or a sensor scan. But anyway, the skirt girls, it's becoming like comically consistent where the episode starts and then it's like the camera's moving in and then it's like, okay, I'm going to have one or two of these power walking skirt girls just cruise by the background. So I don't know if they're like, okay, first 5 seconds of the episode, we got to get these legs on the screen so we get the people watching the TV, so we get the commercial revenue. I don't know, but it's getting like weirdly consistent. So Captain Picard is trying to figure out this greeting to these aliens. I don't think you actually see the aliens. Honestly, I imagine them looking like bugs, like big bugs. Maybe kind of like Rick and Morty, big cartoony bugs. Anyway, in the background, you'll see that he still has the Enterprise model. He hasn't replaced it with the Stargazer model. So there you go. It's fun watching him try to figure out how to do this. Do this greeting because he has to do it right and it sounds funny. But he's getting all stressed, so he has to go to the holodeck to relax. So Picard goes into 1941 San Francisco, the year Maltese Falcon came out, and I guess there's actually a lot of references to that in this episode. But this shot, so he's now in the holodeck, which is, as we explained to our 7-year-old, it's like a computer game that you can go inside of. So this shot is awesome, though. Check it out.
I lost a bet.
Okay, so he's in a detective program called Dixon Hill, called The Big Goodbye. And it's based off of Raymond Chandler. Look at that title right there, The Big Sleep. That's his first novel from 1939, and it is a ton of fun if you've never read it. I got this as a discard from the library. Look at everything that's on there. It's totally loaded. Anyway, The Big Sleep actually is the one that I've read. I haven't read the other ones yet, but I really enjoyed The Big Sleep so much that I saw it at the library and I was like, yes. But anyway, this is based off of like 30s noir type stuff, like Maltese Falcon type stuff. And so the idea is Picard's all stressed trying to get this greeting right for these bug people, because I decided that's what they look like. And Troy, the hypnotist, decides to send him to the holodeck to have some fun. And this is Picard's idea of fun, is going through like a detective thing where there could be danger and interrogations and looks like quite a bit of people throwing themselves at him, and just kind of a sleazy noir underworld kind of thing is how Picard wants to relax. A lot more on the holodeck in just 1 second, but look at this hero shot, as they call it, or as I call it, but they probably call it too. Look at this, is an incredible Enterprise
Captain's personal
shot.
log.
Look at this thing.
I'm delighted with how the holodeck has created the fictional world of Dixon Hill, the 20th century detective who's been a hero of mine since childhood. The characters I'll meet are generated by the computer, of course.
Okay, so here he is playing in the holodeck. He's trying to be a noir detective there, and the holodeck itself, like, I love the holodeck. I love the idea that you can just create a program, go in there and play or train or role play or whatever, and the computer generated people are basically the most forgiving co-actors ever, because you can be playing and you can be a horrible actor and they will be in character the whole time. So you just go play. It sounds incredible. And then of course there's in later episodes they address like holodeck addictions and things with like Barclay and I mean even Riker to a certain extent. And it actually got me thinking of concerning the holodeck, what olden times people would have thought of the holodeck. Um, really olden times, specifically like Plato and Aristotle. And I think with the holodeck that it would be similar to how they both viewed plays, which I also agree, or I also argue that it's the same way how Plato and Aristotle would have viewed video games now, specifically violent video games. So in the holodeck, you can do whatever you want, right? So Plato's idea is that watching tragedies or participating in violence or doing this role playing would actually not be good for you and would actually have the opposite effect and cause you to do those bad things instead of being a release. Plato's like, no, we don't want to play violent video games and we don't want to be in the holodeck and simulate the stuff. Plato would be completely against it. But Aristotle, his student, would be the complete opposite, where he would think that the holodeck is a great place to go to get your feels out and to have catharsis, which is how violent video games have been for me. Is they've never incited me to be violent, but they've always been very cathartic. And so I think I'm more on Aristotle's viewpoint of plays, video games, the holodeck, is that you go in there, you do these adventures, and you have the cathartic release. So that's just something I was thinking of, Plato versus Aristotle with holodeck. So I group that into how they view plays, violent video games, and the holodeck. So Aristotle would be basically what Picard's thinking here, how he's going to go in there and have a good time and feel better about himself. Okay, so cool thing about the holodeck is it could be simulating like a 40s detective office, and then when you want to leave, you just say exit. The door opens wherever it is. The door doesn't change. It's a fixed position on the ship. The holodeck's just a big room shaped like a cube. Anyway, the door opens, and you can go back into the ship. And here we see, even before the strange malfunction has happened, which always happens, which in this case is a bunch of pink and purple lights running around in the halls, apparently affects the holodeck. I digress. Before anything wrong happens, he's going to walk through this door back onto the ship, and some material that was generated in the holodeck, which they say with transporter technology, is going to remain on his face all the way to the bridge. And it's just like, did you guys even write down like a list of basic holodeck rules? It's like, what are the holodeck rules? Is it that it's on the ship and you can do hologram things in there? Like, is that the rules? Because if that's the rules, I guess they follow it to the T. But yeah, he goes through here. He's just been kissed by this dame.
You'll have to call again. I'm just leaving.
Okay, look.
Current settings say.
Look at his lip.
Holodeck off.
Hey, look at that. Look at that big old lipstick cruising through the halls with lipstick on his face. Everyone's looking at him. So strange. Anyway, so this scene's actually fun and kind of cute. Picard is so excitedly explaining the holodeck to everybody. But he's got lipstick on his face, all right? So to me, the rules of the holodeck say that when I take something out of the holodeck, it needs to just tingle away, right? Like it needs to go away because it only can exist there. So when Wesley falls in the water and he comes out soaking wet and he just brings the water out onto the ship, it's like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Anyway, so he's still got lipstick on his face, but I guess if a person walks out of the holodeck, they will disappear. Unless there's been some kind of alien encounter, then the holodeck will absolutely be the first thing to fail on the ship, and they will not disappear. So, sorry, I'm being critical of it, but I still love it, and I still have an absolute blast. But that doesn't mean that I can't sit here and be baffled every single holodeck episode and just be like, wait, the lipstick can come out, but the guys can't come out. Like, what are the rules here? Is that what it is? The people come out, they dissolve, lipstick can come out? I don't know. You tell me. All right, so Picard totally doesn't read the room and brings his friends to a date with Beverly. Totally disappoints her. Story of her life, I guess. But they go into San Francisco with Wayland and Data all dressed up. And here they are at a newspaper stand. But do you recognize this guy? at the newspaper stand.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is
Hitler on the move.
the guy who plays the gun counter guy from Terminator 1. Interesting. So here's the bridge crew all staring at each other, which I actually noticed every single person is perfectly in focus. So I am wondering if this is what's called a deep focus shot, because everything is perfectly in focus. Or all the middle anyway. I don't see any like blurry edges or anything, but yeah, super cool shot. It's crescendoing really loud into the commercial break because everyone's looking at each other and feeling nervous about stuff. Woo, very loud. Okay, so Picard, like I said earlier, totally didn't read the room when Beverly's like, yeah, let's go to the holodeck just together. And he's like, I'm going to bring all my friends. And it's like, Picard, no wonder you're not married, you doofus. Anyway, so he walks out of his interrogation that he thoroughly enjoyed. And he sees Beverly. And I'm not going to lie, this scene was like really swoony. The way he reacts to her. Check it out. It's kind of adorable. Look at his face.
Have a good time.
I don't know. Sometimes it almost seems too real. I must say you wear it well. I'm glad you could make it.
And thank you, Mr. Hill.
All right. Okay, that goes on and it's adorable, but they're gonna get me. They're watching. Help. All right. Anyway, this is adorable, and I need more of this. And this is one of the things that upset me about Picard season 1, that it didn't have this. Anyway, so she still shows up to hang out in the holodeck. She's being a good sport, even though he's there with all his bros. And yeah, he walks out and he is like smitten, and she, I think, can see that. There is chemistry in this scene right here. Boop. And right here. Boop. So yeah, this scene, you can feel this one. Okay, here is another fun 40s movie reference. So Picard, of course, totally botches it with the opportunity to take Beverly to his office, and just brings his two bros along. But inside of his office is this guy. Check it out. Listen to his voice.
Oh, Mr. Hill, you have been avoiding me.
It's Felix Leach. It has to be.
You know me, sir?
Okay, this guy, he's obviously his own thing, but this is absolutely Peter Lorre. He is acting like Peter Lorre in Peter Lorre movies like Casablanca, Maltese Falcon, and he's kind of faking that voice a little bit. So it's fun to see those little real-time olden movies references in this episode. And they have Dixon Hill in the 24th century built up to the point where you're watching this episode and you're like, oh, can I go read Dixon Hill novels written in the 30s? Like they really make you feel like it's real. And then it's like, no, you can't, but you could read Raymond Chandler and it's pretty much reading Dixon Hill. Actually, probably a little rougher than I think Dixon Hill is trying to be. Okay, so since they think they're playing, they don't realize that the pink and purple lights have gone in the halls from the bug people and messed with the holodeck. They're still having fun. So this guy's pointing a gun at them, and look at their adorable faces while they have their hands up. They are so cute, and it looks like they're having so much fun. Look at this.
A certain object.
Look at her. Look at Beverly.
I demand to know what you have done with it.
They're just loving this.
Well, I suppose a few moments longer.
Okay, so here we get into the problem. So they clap because they think he's acting. Okay, I'm not going to show it. Anyway, he's been shot. He's been actually shot, and that's not supposed to happen in the holodeck. But again, I was watching this with my 7-year-old, and his enjoyment of this episode disappeared. So sorry about that, bud. My wife reminded me that the holodeck going haywire are not good kid episodes, because then you feel trapped and they're scary and they have violence and the people can't get out. Anyway, so he was not having a good time anymore, because then all these gangster people show up. They're scary. They're threatening violence, and they're being really scary. So this part was not good. But anyway, you can see here the safety protocols aren't working because they had an encounter with an alien. It's like, man, maybe only use the holodeck when you're in like space dock or something. If like the slightest space anomaly or meeting someone, it's gonna cause it to take over the ship or kill people. Wayland, the 20th century, 19th century expert on the ship, survives, so that's nice. But anyway, yeah, my son didn't like that part, so sorry, bud. Okay, so they find the exit. They're gonna get out of there. They're gonna take Wayland to sick bay. They're gonna get him healed. Beverly's just had a gun to her head. She's had trauma. She's been trying to deal with this guy's gun wound while being without any medical stuff. She's having a rough time. She wanted to be there on an alone date. Picard brought his bros, which his bros are cool characters, but you could see in her face, she's like, I didn't want these guys to be here. Anyway, so this is such a weird ending. So Picard tells Data to pick up Wayland and go to sickbay. And you're like, oh, cool. And he's like, I'll be right behind you. And it's like, oh, okay, so he's gonna talk to Beverly. I know she's got to rush to like help this guy, but it's like, actually the staff there could probably handle a simple gunshot wound. So anyway, he sends Data and Wayland. He's like, go to the sickbay. I'll be right behind you. And it's like, oh, okay. Finally, he's going to talk to Beverly. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. He's going to be like, oh man, like, yeah, sorry that didn't go how, like, let's do this again. Something. So they all walk out. Of the holodeck. I mean, they look at each other real quick, and she cruises off to help because she's a doctor. It makes sense. But you could have had 5-10 seconds, okay? Data's going as quick as he can. There's a staff in sickbay. There's people there. And then Picard stays behind to talk to his cop buddy. And then the music starts getting all like swanky and saxophony, and it's like, what are you doing? You're playing the music that it would be playing if he's talking to Beverly. And then, now, to be fair, the thing that he talks to the cop about, like, is the definition of the kind of sci-fi that I like. Classic sci-fi that just makes you question reality and such. So this guy's like, oh man, like, do I exist when you go out of here? Does my family exist? And you're like, whoa, this program is like coming alive. Whatever, right? Those are cool, classic sci-fi thoughts. But it was misplaced because you're like, no, give him 5 or 10 seconds to talk to Beverly. But they're playing this like swanky music. So you're like, so it's like, oh, it's time for the big goodbye. And you're watching like Picard and this guy have like this dramatic goodbye. And it's like, dude, it's a program. Like, why are you being like this? He's like, I guess it's goodbye. And you're like, they're supposed to make you feel these feelings for this thing, which again is a fun sci-fi thing to make you feel feelings for like a droid or a program. But I did not. It was a weird kind of a miss for me. So, very odd. Now listen to this. Look at it. Saxophone sneaking in. The piano. Swanky music. This would be asking Beverly on an actual date music. And he gets all close to this guy and he's like, they start talking about life and existence and everything. And yeah, it's just very odd. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm shipping Beverly and Picard really hard because the writers are like, they tease you with it and then they pull it away. But they pull it away so far that it just doesn't ever develop into anything. And you have all these like single people that are like super attracted to each other and want to be in a relationship on the ship together, never doing anything. So, sorry, I am here for the space exploration, the violence, the aliens, the fun thoughts, but there's a little part of me that wants these people to be happy. So I guess we've got O'Brien and Keiko. All right, this has been day 14 of 30 of my 30 days of Star Trek reviews. So thank you for watching. This is the episode, The Big Goodbye. Something tells me Patrick Stewart maybe didn't want to say this line at the end. It's very cheesy. Let me know what you think of the holodeck. And thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.